as the title says, does an orchestra actually need a conductor? I've been asked this question a couple of times. So I wanted to put it to rest in this video and explain it as good as possible. But before we begin, I will establish a couple of music terms just so you can tag along and understand, even if you have no history of music or anything like that, So to create music, I would say there's three building blocks. There is pitch, which is this, high or low. That's pitch. And then you have, I would say, tempo. Tempo is what kind of beat are we doing? What kind of pulse do we have? When people are dancing, you need this sort of even thing going in the background. And that tempo is how we decide, which comes to my third point, of where we will be in the music. We can decide where we are with different ways. Without going into too much music theory, we segment a piece into small little bits where, with the help of the tempo, we can decide where we are going to be at that point in time. That makes sense, yeah? Are you with me still? If you didn't understand that, that's fine. TLDR, we need pitch, tempo, and sort of where we are, yeah? That's where the word bars come in, or anyway, I don't want to get into it too much. So, what is a conductor's role in the orchestra? Well, you could easily say a conductor's role in the orchestra is to be for me, and I would say quite many people agree, is the sort of emotional leader. Where are we going? How are we supposed to feel? Is this going to be fast? Is this going to be slower? Will this fit in more with the vibe of the piece? And also, which is kind of also very important, the conductor can show with his hands where we are in the tempo and where we are in the music, in the sort of big thing that we're trying to get through, yeah? So with his movements, they can sort of guide the musicians, especially if the rhythms are, this is a rhythm, or a rhythm, that's a rhythm, or shapes of how to play music notes, which can be really helpful, especially if it's super complicated. Like we have Stravinsky, Rite of Spring is a great example of where things are kind of chaotic. It's quite hard to know where you are, especially when you're in this 100-man, around 100 people, if not more, in this classical symphonic orchestra. So it's really helpful to actually have a conductor in that space with us to show where we kind of are and how we're supposed to feel. With that said, a conductor isn't necessary. Here's the bomb. It's not necessary. An orchestra is kind of very autonomous, could be very, very, self-regulating in understanding where we want to go, what we want to do. We kind of look at our orchestra leader, which is called the first violinist, who sits at the front of first violin. You have second violin, usually further in, and first violin section. So the section of first violinist, there can be at least 12 of them, if not even more. So that person usually automatically becomes, I would say, the instrumental conductor. They can show in body movements, they can show what they want to do, they can also instruct. So that's also why the conductor, when the conductor comes into the orchestra, they always shake hand with the first violinist, because that is usually, it's a little bit custom, but also that is the most, I would say, prestigious place in the orchestra. Anyway, with that said, we have an orchestra as actually perfectly fine by themselves. We can listen to each other, we understand to a certain degree where we are, especially if the music is simpler, where it's more known, where we are more aware of everything. If maybe the tempo or the beat, as the conductor is showing in certain movements, is simpler because they are more difficult beats to show, like beats as in this. The beat shows the tempo and where we are in the music. You're getting it? Yeah, the quick music lesson here. And if the orchestra is kind of aware of the more easier ones, it's quite easy to know where we are There's loads of orchestras that do conduct without a conductor. There's a lot of repertoire that you can do without a conductor, but in the harder bits, it's nice to have, it's great to have them. Now, personally, the best conductors, in my opinion, the most famous ones, you know, the huge names, the rock star of classical music, they are the most awesome when they know to step back and not try to control the orchestra so much or try to control the group. An amazing conductor is someone that dives in when they have to, and when they want to show emotionally where sort of where they want to go. Like, do we want anger? Do we want sadness? Do we want sorrow? What do we want? You know, if they feel the orchestra isn't delivering that properly, we will follow, especially if we trust and like the conductor, which is a different point as well. But I can give you the best example that I've had from my experience. I played with this wonderful pianist called Vladimir Ashkenazy, and he was a conductor. So he's conducted the Philharmonia in London a lot. That's basically his orchestra. He is retired now, but I had the huge honor to play with him a couple years ago. And what he did so well, which is exactly that, he has this idea of how to show a Beethoven symphony. I believe we played the 6th one. And he does this thing, but then when he's happy, he just kind of chills, just goes with it, you know? And it's so beautiful when that happens. But then suddenly we can see he's a little bit, no, I don't want that. And then he starts showing emotionally and also where he wants us to go in direction and stuff like that. So yeah, that is really an amazing memory. And also you can tell with an amazing leader, because they are leaders, yeah, their emotions and their aura just takes the whole group. Like if it's 100 people, 50 people, 30 people, whatever it is, it feels like you're just being enveloped by his leadership, which is super hard to describe. But you can really tell quite quickly how well that conductor is going to do, by the way, if it comes in for the week with the orchestra, if they're able in the first moments to actually capture the whole group and just standing there, you know? If that makes any sense. To round it all off, when I've been talking about how like emotionally you show something, I can just show you by showing a beat and just hot cross buns. We're going to take a simple melody and I'm going to show you if you still really don't understand what I mean by all of this and blah, blah, blah. So if I do a simple beat, I'm not going to go into what it is, but this is kind of like a pretty standard tempo. We're quite close to, I don't know, 80 beats per minute, which is how we measure tempo. So that would be. Get it? If I would do this. Right? Soft movements, smaller, silence. And you guessed it already. If I do. And that, ladies and gents, is a really quick explanation and a quick crash course of music, especially in the classical music world. So thank you so much for watching. Obviously, before you go, please have a little listen to my little pitch, which is I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, iTunes, YouTube, Pandora. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Same name everywhere. If you like what I do, you want to support me, join the Patreon, where I can give you things in return, which is behind the scenes content, exclusive posts, exclusive perks, and I tell all my patrons a little bit more in advance before I go live stream. Yeah, all right, thanks. See you in the next video.